Camerawoman Barbara Tyack was savagely attacked by a gang of baboons. Now, 6 years on, she is making a film about them. The baboons accepted Barbara and treated her like one of their own. This endangered her life. Accepting their trust, she was vulnerable to their aggression. By mistake, Barbara looked a baboon in the eye. To them, that's a serious threat. This terrifying encounter did not kill her passion for them. She knows there is much more to a baboon than meets the eye. Barbara knows that baboons and people have always been close, but are they getting too close for comfort? In the wild, baboons live in well-organized societies in which friendship, not aggression, plays the leading role. Millions of years ago, baboons and our distant ancestors left the safety of the trees and ventured out onto the African savanna. They had the same dangers to face and solved them in similar ways. Baboons rely on their family and friends and will gang together to face enemies as a united front when threatened. Secure, the young are free to play. Dependence on each other is as important to baboons as it was to early humans and led to a complex social system in both species. Mutual grooming reinforces family ties and friendships. Baboons, like us, have an intricate system of communication. Subtle gestures, facial expressions, and a wide range of vocalizations all convey their feelings. What looks like a yawn is actually a threat gesture. And here, the open-mouthed grin is an expression of fear. Within the troop, families and friends group together. Females are usually accompanied by their children and grandchildren. The entire troop is fascinated by new babies. While very young, they are treated with tenderness. A mother will only tolerate what appears to be rough treatment from close relatives and companions. She knows they will not harm her baby and is confident to let it explore nearby. Even large males are gentle with tiny babies, for good reason. Adult males always join a troop from the outside, while females never leave their families. They are the core of baboon society, providing stability to the group. To be successful in a new troop, males must first make friends. One way of winning over a female is to be gentle and protective towards her babies. When a female gains a male's companionship, she also wins protection for her offspring. Males side with their female friends and family during conflicts. Any threat by an outsider is quickly quashed by a show of solidarity. When peace is restored, it's safe to play again. Vervet monkeys and baboons live side by side in the forest, but generally vervets keep their distance. Baboons are bigger and stronger and have been known to kill vervets. Seeing the two species play like this is unusual. Like baboons, vervet monkeys live in groups with up to 60 members. Vervets are vulnerable to predators on the plains and stay within close reach of the trees. The larger and more confident baboons can choose between the forests and the open plains. But vervets and baboons are not the only primates in the trees. Barbara Tyack studied baboons for many years. 6 years ago, she reintroduced a group of captive baboons into the wild. Ironically, it was these baboons which attacked her. It took 57 stitches and 3 months for Barbara to walk again. Barbara had been accepted by the troop and knew that to a baboon, a direct stare is a challenge and serious threat. But by mistake, she returned the glare of a young female. Frightened, the baboon screamed. In response, the whole troop banded together and attacked. Far from ending her passion for primates, the attack left her feeling strangely more involved with them. This experience has inspired her to make a film about the relationship between baboons and people. In the wild, a baboon's daily routine is governed by the need to find enough food. They have an advantage over many other savanna animals. Baboons have hands. Tiny seeds, blades of grass, roots, and insects are all within grasp of their dexterous fingers. In the middle of the day, it's too hot to forage, and the troop heads for water. It's a time to rest and socialize. They'll search for food again later in the afternoon when it has cooled down. This troop's territory is right on the border of Nakuru National Park and close to Nakuru town. It's when people and baboons live side by side that clashes occur. It's here that Barbara plans to start filming. Herman Ngalwa is helping Barbara. He's a special camera assistant. It was Herman who saved Barbara's life by driving off her baboon attackers. Human encroachment is closing in on the borders of Kenya's national parks. They are increasingly being surrounded by cultivated land. Maize is the staple diet of most Kenyans and is the main crop in the country. In rural communities, tending the fields is a full-time job, and women are principally responsible for working the land. Some maize is eaten fresh, but the kernels from the bulk of the crop are stripped off the cob and dried. Later they will be ground into maize meal, which in Swahili is called ugali. In Kenya, maize is the focal point of the conflict between people and wild animals. In order to protect the crops, national parks are increasingly being fenced in. But even electric fences have loopholes. The bottom strand carries no charge because grasses touching it would short out the whole fence. In the park, baboons eat different natural foods as they become available throughout the year. Most of their food items are small and take time and energy to gather. Babies learn what is good to eat by watching their mothers. Some of the baboons living on the edge of the park have developed a taste for the easy life. It would take a baboon nearly all day to collect enough flowers to equal the food in just a few cobs of maize. Understandably, the farmers are not prepared to share their crop. Barbara is interested in how the villagers cope with their wild neighbors and protect their corn. This woman feels very strongly about baboons and is eager to talk to Barbara and Herman. We have to guard the maize every day, otherwise the baboons would come and finish it all. Then I would have nothing left to make ugali and nothing to feed my children. When the baboons see me in the field, they wait until my back is turned and I'm digging. They are very clever. Look over there. Can you see them coming down? While the corn ripens, young boys have to take 3 months off school to protect their family crops. For the raiders, it's worth sitting around for hours. The rich pickings inside the fence will more than compensate for their patience. Barbara and Herman will have to be equally persevering if they are to witness the crime. But baboons are smart. They know that the boys can't watch everywhere at once. The inner village fence, which is not electrified, is a high vantage point, but it is not as tall as the treetops. Guarding the maize is a job for the boys. Baboons are not afraid of girls. They think only boys can throw stones far and hard. A clever raider picks the right time and the right place.
Ở dưới cua là trên này. Còn đi nào dưới cua na.
Once they have crossed the park boundary, baboons can create havoc and get themselves into serious trouble. There are thieves at large, and they are not afraid of winning.
Kita jual kau tu. Mumpi sasa. Sedih jual, mumpi fit.
In the fields, the baboons work quickly, quietly, and efficiently. They can get enough food in one short raid to last them all day. The situation is stressful and the baboons are nervous. Fighting with each other, they give themselves away. A mere 100-yard sprint, and they are safely back in the park. The damage to the crop is devastating. Often the baboons open cob after cob, checking their condition, and only eating those which are ripe. These people are subsistence farmers and too poor to sacrifice any of their maize for the baboons. With no surplus crop to sell, the family will have no money. They will have no way of paying for school uniforms, medical treatment, or even small luxuries like tea and sugar, which most people take for granted. When baboons become raiders, everybody's lives are disrupted. Back in the national park, the baboons relax. Evening is a time for socializing with family and friends before settling down for the night. Baboons sleep high up on cliffs or at the top of trees, where they are safe from predators and desperate and angry farmers. Some villages lose up to a third of their crops every year to baboons. With no compensation, the people's only hope is to guard their crops more effectively. It's a battle they can't afford to lose, but have little chance of winning. Elsewhere, people are taking more drastic measures. If you want to catch a baboon, it is obvious what to use as bait. But baboons are smart and not easily tricked. To gain their confidence, these traps have been baited for 2 weeks. Tonight, they are set. The baboons hurry along to their daily feast, but will they notice that things are different this morning? The men are efficient. The whole troop has been captured in one morning. These baboons won't be bothering the farmers again. Trapping crop raiders is one way of dealing with the problems they cause. More commonly, problem baboons are shot. In 1 year, over 3,000 baboons were shot officially in Kenya. The real number must be considerably higher. Maybe they were the lucky ones. Some captured baboons end up in medical research laboratories. Many people argue that the benefits to mankind more than compensate for a primate's lost freedom. Others claim that separated from family and friends, the suffering these intelligent and sociable animals endure in captivity is unacceptable at any price. Under these conditions, it's hard to look a baboon in the eye. Away from humans, baboons are free to live side by side with other wild animals. Baboons are surprisingly resourceful. They have large brains and dexterous hands, and unlike many animals, can prepare food which is unpalatable in its natural state. Nettles sting, but are good to eat. Rubbing the leaves in their leathery palms removes the stinging hairs. This way a baboon avoids being stung in the mouth. Many animals, both large and small, feed peacefully alongside each other. For a baboon on the ground, foraging near an animal that can spot danger from a long way off has obvious advantages. In times of plenty, baboons are fussy eaters, only selecting the choicest fruit. This may appear wasteful, but for the elephants waiting below, it's a gift from above. Life in the forest isn't always harmonious. Baboons frequently squabble amongst themselves, and sometimes even with larger animals. Elephants, like baboons, have their rank to sort out. This youngster can't find anyone his own size to spar with, but even he can pull rank over a baboon. The elephant is no real threat, but no baboon likes to lose face. When there is real danger, an individual's friends and relatives will come to the rescue. It is this solidarity which enables baboons to leave the safety of the forest and exploit food resources out on the plains. There is always someone on watch. Surrounded by numerous sentries, a youngster is safe to play. Bored with a rock which doesn't roll, the juvenile's attention is caught by its own tail. With so many eyes scanning the surroundings, it's practically impossible to sneak up on such vigilant animals. A troop of baboons can mob a lion, but this time they decide a dash for the trees is the safest option. Lions could have prompted a similar response from our ancestors, but there was one big difference between baboons and early man. At some stage, our ancestors started to use tools and fashion weapons. They may not be as skillful as human beings, but baboons are surprisingly resourceful and adaptable. These have learned to swim, even underwater. But they cannot walk upright for more than a few steps. It was the ability to walk on two legs, use tools, and to hunt that set man on the path that was to lead, ultimately, to his position of dominance over all other animals. As people have taken over the world, many species have been forced into extinction, but not baboons. They are still thriving in Kenya and are often considered vermin. Barbara has other views. She interprets their success as a tribute to their adaptable nature. She is on her way to film a particular troop of yellow baboons, which are living dangerously close to people. It's a fine balancing act. Has this individual chosen a bad spot for a rest? Or does he have an ulterior motive? It is obvious why the hitchhikers are here, but what are the baboons after? A baboon has one overriding interest: food. On the main road between Nairobi and Mombasa, one troop of yellow baboons has learned to exploit our fascination in them.
Oh my God. Come on, come on. Shut the window.
Yeah, make sure they don't come in the other
Will
window.
they bite that?
They pose for tourists, but expect to be rewarded. These tourists haven't run out of tidbits, but maybe the baboons have learned that they'll get a higher class of handout from a more prestigious vehicle.
Watch out, watch out.
These baboons have lost some of their fear of people, and by teasing them, motorists risk being bitten. It seems as though this mother now has to shield her baby from the roar of the traffic. This troop have given up a quiet life in the bush to beg on the streets. The rewards are obviously worth it. Tourism is Kenya's most important industry. Almost 1 million holidaymakers flock here every year to see wildlife.
Cold drinks and a swim.
Safari lodges provide visitors with luxury and comfort in the middle of the bush. Some non-paying guests also take advantage of the facilities. Originally, the sole purpose of national parks was to conserve wildlife. Now they must generate enough revenue to justify their existence, and the animals must play their part in attracting visiting tourists. People come here hoping to experience close encounters with wild animals. Sometimes they get more than they bargained for. These olive baboons are amusing, but cause a lot of damage. Most lodges now employ watchmen to protect tourists from uninvited guests. Tourists are discouraged from feeding baboons, yet every day the troop are guaranteed a meal. Twice daily, leftovers from the kitchen and restaurant, along with non-edible refuse, are tipped into a nearby rubbish dump. Baboons are as resourceful as humans are wasteful. This lodge has supported a troop of yellow baboons for more than 30 years. 6 generations have known no other life, and a rubbish dump subculture has evolved. Marabou storks, guinea fowl and warthogs are also fully integrated members of this new society. The food is rich and nutritious. Compared to their relatives in the wild, rubbish dump baboons are generally bigger, breed younger, and live longer. But there are hazards as well as benefits to this lifestyle. The lodge staff burn all the flammable rubbish. These baboons have learned to pick through the flames, but occasionally these bonfires erupt. Exploding aerosol cans cause nasty burns, damaged tails, and lost fingers. But the baboons were born into this mayhem, and the dangers are part of everyday life. Tempers flare too. Intense competition for food and overcrowding leads to stress and aggression. Despite the conflict, this troop is thriving. Their quality of life may be questionable, but these baboons have chosen to live here. It's a bit like people choosing to live in a hectic city instead of quietly in the country. Warthogs are no strangers to baboons. The two species coexist peacefully out on the savannah. Living in unusually close proximity here does not seem to bother them. In the wild, baboons rub prickly pears to get rid of their irritating hairs. Old habits die hard. The dump community have grown up together. The young warthogs know the baboons mean them no harm. Baboons are much less tolerant of marabous, which could harm tiny babies. Providing leftovers twice daily has led to a changed way of life. These baboons no longer have to spend all day searching for food. Instead, they have more leisure time in which to relax and socialize. The youngsters here have novel toys to play with. The baboon is obviously fascinated by his own reflection. But does he think it's just another baboon, or does he recognize himself? Pieces of broken mirror are prized possessions and guarded jealously. But it's difficult to keep an eye on the baboon in the mirror, as well as those around you. Plain glass is more readily available, but does not have the same reflective qualities. Remarkably, these baboons have learned to manipulate it to their advantage. The broken panes have to be positioned at just the right angle to the sun for a baboon to see his own reflection. Some believe that self-awareness is unique to mankind. Can we be so sure? comparison with their natural environment, the living conditions here look crowded and squalid. Yet these baboons have everything they need. Human intervention has provided them with an alternative lifestyle, but it's one they may not enjoy for long. There are plans to enclose all the dumps, although it's difficult to outsmart a baboon. Here on the edge of the Great Rift Valley, a man-made environment stretches out as far as the eye can see. While other primates have had little influence over the course of nature, human beings have altered the world beyond all recognition. Kenya's population is increasing at an alarming rate, and that means trouble for wild animals and wild places. While thousands of species have become extinct, baboons have not only survived, they have learned to exploit man-made environments. In the modern world, the only way is to make the interests of people coincide with those of wild animals. Whether they are regarded as dangerous and vulgar or charming and ingenious, most people are impressed by baboons. Perhaps it's because they are like us that we find them so fascinating. While baboons are increasingly forced into our world, Barbara willingly joins them in theirs. She knows them as remarkable creatures which, unprovoked, will not attack. She feels that, as fellow primates with a complex society, they are worthy of conservation. Finding a way to share our world with wildlife is surely an achievable goal.
There's a colour brochure accompanying